Morning students. So in this class of environmental biotechnology, we discuss the topic of desulfurization of coal. Desulfurization of coal. So if you know that coal comes under category of fossil fuel. So which can be stored, which can be underground, which remains as a fossil in the earth, and which gives energy, which can be acting as a fuel. So it is called as fossil fuel. So coal, mostly desulfurization of coal is necessary. So you should remove. So what is desulfurization? Is nothing but removal of sulfur from coal. So the coal, if you see the composition of coal, which contains 10% of sulfur, 10% of sulfur. So the coal which normally contains 10% of sulfur. So the sulfur which is present in the coal has to be removed. So why? Because whatever sulfur, whenever the coal is undergoes combustion or heating, when coal undergoes combustion or heating, so it releases sulfur. So this sulfur reacts with nitrous oxide, which is present in the atmosphere. Nitrous oxide. So sulfur which reacts with nitrous oxide, which is present in the environment during combustion of coal, which forms acid rain. So whenever the coal is burned, whenever coal is subjected to combustion, it releases sulfur. So whenever this sulfur reacts with atmospheric nitrous oxide, it forms acid rain. So which creates the pollution in the environment, right? So in order to avoid such pollution, such environmental damage by the creation of acid rain, has to be stopped by using the process called as desulfurization of coal, right? So which is nothing but simply removal of sulfur from coal. So there are different types of coals, 4 different types of coals based upon the percentage, based upon the So we have different types of codes. Based upon which, so they give energy, right? So different codes will do different energy levels, having different energy levels. So the first one is anthraquinite coal. The first category of different types of coal is anthraquinite coal. So which is a very hardest coal. So which undergoes combustion, which is 85% of energy, high energy. It is a anthraquinite. Coming to the bit litmus, which gives 45 to 85% of energy, and submit litmus, that is 25 to 45% of energy, and lignite, it's up to 25% of energy, which is called a soft coal. upon energy in which the coal gives, based on when it undergoes combustion. Right? So when coal undergoes combustion, they produces certain energy. So based upon the outcome of energy, the coals are divided into 4 categories. One is anthraquinite coal, which is the toughest coal, which produces 85% of energy, which when it undergoes combustion. And bit litmus is the second category of coal, which produces to 45 to 85%, which is slightly small, lower than the anthraquinite. That is bit litmus. And third one is sub-bit litmus, which produces 25 to 45% of energy. And fourth one is lignite. Which gives up to 25% of energy. It is a soft coal, and it is the fourth category, lowest category of coal, which produces low energy. So anthraquinite, bit litmus, sub-bit litmus, and lignite. So all these 4 categories of coal contains different percentages of sulfur. So the sulfur which is attached to the coal can be removed by 2 methods. One is organic attachment, organic binding, and next one is inorganic binding. So the coal will be attached to sulfur in 2 forms, that is organic binding, and next one is inorganic binding. So organic binding can be removed by using chemical or biological treatment. Whereas inorganic binding can be removed by physical methods. So coming to the binding of sulfur to the coal, right? So there will be strong binding which comes under organic binding. So this organic binding can be removed by using a chemical process or a biological reduction of that sulfur. In inorganic binding, the binding will be very, very weak when compared to organic binding, which can be removed easily by physical methods. So coming to the chemical method, there is a chemical called as dibenzothiophene, which is DBT. DBT is a chemical which can be removed organic binding. So there is a one microbial organism, sulfurobus species, which is nothing but sulfur oxidizing bacteria, sulfurobus. So either by using a chemical method or by using a biological method, you can remove the sulfur which is attached to the coal. That comes under organic binding. Coming to the inorganic binding, so which can be removed by using physical method, which includes washing. So washing is a physical method which can be removed sulfur which is attached to the coal. So if you see the combustion, right, generally combustion is nothing but simply burning. Combustion of coal, which takes under fluidized bed. So generally we use fluidized fluidized bed reactors for the combustion of coal. So fluidized bed reactors means these small tank-like structures. These tank-like structures. So the bottom of this tank, is filled with limestone, that is calcium oxide. So it's bed-like structure, right? Bed. So the lime is arranged as a bed-like form. That is fluidized bed reactors, called as fluidized bed reactors. So generally the combustion of coal can be carried out in fluidized bed reactors, so which is filled with limestone. So in this, the coal is added at the top. The coal is added at the top of this bed. Limestone. So the sulfur dioxide which is released from the coal will react with lime. It forms calcium sulfate. So which can be removed as a paste. So generally we use a special type of tank-like structures which is called as fluidized bed reactors. So for burning of coal. So when we start burning of coal, right? So the sulfur which is released from the coal will react with lime, that is calcium oxide, which results in formation of calcium sulfate, which is nothing but a paste-like material which can be removed from the bottom of the tank. So this is combustion of fuel by using chemical. Coming to the bacteria, sulfurous is the bacteria which oxidizes. Sulfur, which forms sulfur oxides, which can be formed complex with the material which is placed in the reactors. So we can use as a chemical method or biological method to oxidize the that is sulfur which is present in the coal, which comes under organic binding. So the organic binding is called as strong binding, which can be removed, cannot be removed easily by a physical method. So we have used specialized chemicals or biological material for the treatment of removing of sulfur. So if you use bacteria or other biological systems for desulfurization, which is called as biodesulfurization. So the oxidation of sulfur from coal by using biological organisms such as sulfurous, which is nothing but a sulfur oxidizing bacteria. So the use of such sulfur oxidizing bacteria in desulfuring the coal, which is called as biodesulfurization of coal. So this is all about the desulfurization of coal. So combustion of fossil fuels is a threat to the environment. This causes certain pollution in the environment. So in order to avoid the pollution which is coming from the fossil fuels such as coal, we adapt different methods for removing the pollutants which is coming from the combustion of fossil fuels. So the major obstacle when we go for combustion of fossil fuels, right? So when you are burning the coal, right, which releases sulfur oxide, which reacts with nitrous oxide which is present in the atmosphere, which results in the formation of acid rain. So this acid rain is a threat to the environment, which automatically damages the environment. So in order to avoid such threats to the environment, we go for different methods to avoid the pollutants. So desulfurization of coal is one of the methods to avoid the sulfur contaminants which is present in the coal. So about 10% of coal is comprised of, if you see the composition of coal, which contains 10% of the sulfur. 10% of the sulfur. So this 10% of sulfur has to be, the binded to the coal has to be removed. If you see different types of coals based upon the energy, we will have different types of coals. So which produces different energies based on combustion, So the first type of coal is anthracite coal, which is the toughest coal, hardest coal, which gives the highest amount of energy when it undergoes combustion. It is approximately 85% of energy will be released. So the best example is the coal that is used in railways. Which produces highest anthracite coal. The next category is bit litmus, which gives 45 to 85% of coal, 45 to 85% of energy. And there is other type, that is sub-litmus, that is 25 to 45% energy. And fourth category of coal is lignite. Which is up to 25% of energy is coming from lignite coal when it undergoes combustion. So these are the 4 different types of coal based upon the energy which is releasing on combustion. Coming to the composition of sulfur, the percentage of sulfur for the binding of sulfur to the coal, right? So one is organic binding, which is a strong binding, and next one is inorganic binding. So coming to the organic binding, if we want to remove the organic binding, we can adopt chemical or biological methods to remove the strong binding of sulfur which is attached to the coal. So there is a chemical called dibenzothiophenone, which removes the sulfur from the coal, which comes under chemical treatment of desulfurization. Whereas coming to biological treatment, we use certain microbial organisms which are having ability to oxidize the sulfur, which makes it less toxic. So the ability of microorganisms to oxidize the sulfur, which we call it as sulfur oxidizing bacteria. So if you use biological organisms for the desulfurization of coal, that is called as biodesulfurization of coal. So which is nothing but using of biological organisms to make the toxic sulfur oxide to less toxic, which comes under So this biological treatment can be used for the treatment for the removal of organic binding. Coming to the inorganic binding, which is a latest binding of sulfur to the coal. So in this we use washing. So washing is a simple method to remove the inorganic binding. Which is a not toughest binding. Simple washing would remove the sulfur traces from the coal. That is called as inorganic binding, which can be removed by the physical mutation. So coming to general combustion, general burning of the coal, which can be taken in fluidized bed reactors. So fluidized bed reactors is nothing but the tanks which is filled with a bed-like material. The material which is at this bottom of the tank. So generally we use limestone. Which is called as calcium oxide. So whenever we burn the coal, the sulfur oxide which is released in the tank, the sulfur oxide which is released in the tank will react with lime. To form calcium sulfate. So calcium sulfate, which is a paste-like material, which can be removed from the bottom of the tank. So the sulfur which is coming from the tank, will react with limestone, to form a paste-like material, which is called as calcium sulfate. So this is a paste-like material which can be easily removed from the bottom of the tank. So from this we can remove the sulfur from the coal by using limestone. So this is a general combustion reaction that is taking place in the fluidized bed reactors. Coming to biodesulfurization. Biodesulfurization is, so we use mostly we use microorganisms which are having ability to oxidize the sulfur, makes the oxidized sulfur. So in fluidized bed reactors, instead of lime, we use bacterial culture. So the bacteria which is having ability to oxidize the sulfur, which is coming from the combustion of coal, gets oxidized and becomes less toxic. So that is called as biodesulfurization of coal. So this is all about the biodesulfurization of coal. So likewise we have detoxification reactions, detoxification of pesticides, detoxification of waste material, right? So in environmental biotechnology we learn about the methods which makes the environment free from pollutions. So we adapt different methods to reduce the pollutants which is coming from different waste, organic waste or inorganic waste. We adapt different methods to reduce the pollutants. So biodesulfurization of coal is one of the methods to reduce the sulfur pollution, which is coming from the combustion, that is what burning of coal. So whenever the sulfur reacts with nitrous oxide, so which creates the acid rain. So this acid rain which is not good for the environment. So in order to avoid the acid rains, we go for different methods of desulfurization. So dibenzothiopene is one of the chemical which reacts with sulfur, and makes less toxic or less available sulfur. That is dibenzothiopene. We call it as DBT. DBT is one of the chemical which is used to remove the strongest binding of sulfur that is attached to the coal. In inorganic, we can remove inorganic matter, that is the binding between sulfur and coal is weaker. Such binding can be removed by using physical method. So simple washing of coal can be used to remove the sulfur from the coal. So this is all about the biodesulfurization of coal. So bio means biological organisms. So biological organisms that are used for desulfurization, for the removal of sulfur from the coal. That is called as biodesulfurization of coal. So mostly sulfurous bacteria will be used for the oxidation of sulfur to form the less toxic sulfur. Sulfur is mostly used in microbial organism which oxidizes the sulfur. So these are about the biodesulfurization. So in the next class we'll see different methods to reduce the environmental pollution. So there is a method in order to degrade the pesticides that we added to the land, so that are responsible for the land pollution. So degradation of pesticides which are accumulated in the land, which comes under biodegradation of pesticides. So the pesticides that is applied to the land, which makes the land pollution, which are insoluble in land. Such pesticides can be degraded. By using certain microbial organisms. So such method comes under biodegradation of pesticides. So likewise we have different methods for the reduction of toxic pollutants in the environment. So biodesulfurization is one of the methods to reduce the sulfur contaminants in the environment. So generally we have to avoid the pollution. During combustion, that is burning. Whenever the coal is burning, the fumes that is coming from the coal which contains sulfur fumes. So this sulfur fumes reacts as a possibility of reacting with nitrous oxide, so which ultimately forms the acid and which creates the environmental damage. Such damage can be prevented by the method of biodesulfurization of coal. So in the next class we will see the biodegradation of pesticides. Thank you.